Hi everyone! Welcome back to another speed build. Today we're going to be building my dream home. This home will have 5 bedrooms and 4.5 baths, and it will be styled as if it was mid-century modern. Going through with the shell of the house, I did take inspiration again from architectural designs. However, I did throw a couple of spins on it. I'm also trying to resize everything because it just felt very, very large. So what I'm working on right now on the first floor, we're gonna have 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. We're gonna have that garage, but I'm gonna be using the workshop restoration in the garage as well, just because in The Sims we don't have the cars. We're also going to have a little bit of a mud room coming out of the garage. On the second floor, we're going to have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, as well as a laundry room and a cat room. You'll see all of that as we go through it. However, at first you're going to see that everything is very symmetrical on the second floor. That doesn't stay, not at all. I also need to resize it a bit because you'll see in a little bit of how it kind of was an overhang compared to the first floor, like it wasn't drawn out correctly the first time around. So this is where you see that I'm going to be going through and just trying to fix the left side so that it makes a little bit more sense to me, because at this point I didn't really have a plan for a cat room or when I'm going to put in the Jack and Jill bathroom. I'm just trying to figure out what the sizes of the bedrooms are. I don't want there to be too many bedrooms either. I think 5 was plenty. And in my dream home, there would be 2 bedrooms on the first floor for that generational living. Growing up, I grew up with my grandparents, and I can't imagine me living and raising kids of my own without my own family. So as they get older, they'll have space in my type of dream home. Going through, you see that little tiny window on the left hand side. That was when I was looking at the inspiration photo and I'm like, oh, that could be fun to do. However, when we get to it later, when it comes to painting the outside, you're gonna see of how it doesn't make sense at all, at least not in The Sims, because we want to have those earth tones on the outside. And also with the garage, I was struggling on how to make it look like a garage without using the garage door from City Living, just because it didn't really fit the vibes of the household. And I'm also not going to be using a lot of roof pieces. I'm mostly going to be using platforms on the outside with half walls. With it being flat, it's not very realistic for real life, depending on where you live, I would imagine. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of trim to the outside to separate the half walls from the actual walls. It'll also help later on when I'm painting outside, just to give a couple of different textures. So this is where I'm figuring out that Jack and Jill style bath. If you watched my last YouTube video where I was doing the Let's Play, I did explain a little bit what a Jack and Jill bath is if you did not know. Essentially, it's a bathroom in between two bedrooms. Both bedrooms have access to this through a shared common space, which would be like the sink area, and then there would be another door to get to your toilet and shower, bathtub combo, or whatever you might have. I'm going back and forth between the mudroom and the laundry room using Laundry Day, just because those would be the two main spaces that you would find that pack in most likely. Because in the mudroom you would have your shoe rack, coat rack, maybe even where you would put your keys. And those are items that you could find in Laundry Day aside from the key rack. I'm also obsessed with this color countertop from that base game update. I love colorful countertops. I hate when a house has like just gray shaker cabinets, which is perfectly fine. These are shaker style cabinets too. I just really like the blue swatch on them. A gray kitchen just isn't for me. A white kitchen isn't for me. I prefer to see colors. And what I wanted from this house is, for one, it to be generational style living, but also it to be like an entertaining type of space, just because in my family we all love to get together. It'll be like extended cousins, family friends, everyone's coming over. We usually go to my aunt's house for every holiday, but I would love to be the house that everyone else comes to in the future. So you'll see a lot of seating. When we get to the outdoor area, there's going to be a lot more seating out there. And in this area, we have a little office area, some little library space. And I did put the fireplace in here. Originally, I did want the fireplace in the living room, but I didn't want to make like a chimney through the house. I also did not put a chimney here either. But if I was thinking of it realistically, where the chimney would end up, it would go like straight through the walk-in closet, which I would want to avoid in real life. So I thought that it would be nice to still have that fireplace inside of the study area. I'm finally partially getting to the downstairs bedrooms. Again, this is like my idea of my dream home. It would most likely have my mom and my uncle on the first floor, but it would be different for everyone. You don't have to leave it where it has the queen size beds. You can make one of those the master bedrooms if you wanted, and change up the layout upstairs, or leave them as guest bedrooms. You could turn them into kid spaces, whatever you really want to do with them. This is just how I imagine the house to look. And this is also where I realized that there's an overhang. The laundry room will go back to its original size once I get to the walk-in closet and realize I don't need that much space in this room. Right now, I just keep jumping around between the different rooms, so if it becomes a little hard to keep track of because of how fast I make the video so it's not 5-6 hours long, yes, that's how long it takes me. I'm very slow when it comes to building. I do apologize. But I'll just be going back and forth between the downstairs 2 bedrooms. I did inspire the 1 bedroom based off of my mom's current bedroom setup, and the furniture that she actually does have is very closely replicated to what's in the game. So here's where I'm finally working on that walk-in closet, and I realized I don't need that much space in The Sims, so I'm gonna end up putting that table back into a laundry room once I extend it. And I really did enjoy having that table in the laundry room, just like how in real life you want some space to be able to fold. Even though in The Sims they don't exactly do that, it's nice to pretend that they might. I also struggled with the windows on those bits just because of the platform. It like jumps a little bit and it doesn't match like the height of the rest of the windows on the second floor. But at this point, I'm going through the master bedroom. I did want a little sitting area, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna add the drink bucket from Wedding Stories. And I also get a vanity in there, you know, for when Sims want to do makeup. I don't end up keeping the green chairs though. I do swap them out for a more sandy neutral color. At first I really did want to use those green chairs. I do love the color green, especially a dark green like that. However, it did not work out in my favor. I didn't like how it looked with the bed that I picked out. Moving on to the first kid's bedroom. In my mind, they're probably already a teenager. In this house, there are 2 kids' rooms. One for like a child or teen, and then the other one is for a toddler. Both of them are set up for girls, mainly because I'm very bad at furnishing boys' bedrooms. This is also where I decide that I'm not gonna stick to all the lights being the little saucer lights. I will be swapping out some of the light fixtures for other ones in this build. And this is where I decide that there is gonna be pets. You can swap it out to have more dog related items, but I did want to fill this tiny room. And with the windows, I decided what better than putting in cat trees. I currently have a dog. I would love to have a cat. However, I know too many people who are allergic, so that probably won't be in the cards for me. And I also added the hedgehog. Realistically speaking, the cat room would probably be more of a reptile room for my own in real life purposes. However, in The Sims, we don't have reptiles unless you get the mods, which I think just edit the rodent enclosures. I did add functioning water heater and electrical box, so if you don't want that in your own game, be sure to delete that. I also thought that I could add a pool, but I felt like it would be too cramped in the backyard for a pool. Just because you just saw how it was already getting close to the property line, and if it gets too close, then the fence will be touching it, or if it gets too close to the property line, then I can't put a fence around it, and I don't want other Sims nearby coming into the backyard uninvited. And for the garage, I added these wall fixtures from, I believe it's Eco Lifestyle. I didn't know how else to make a garage door. I'm sure that there are other ways, but with how long it already takes me to build, I was not going to go through the entire catalog. I thought this looked fine enough. Obviously not very realistic, but doesn't have to be. We don't have functioning cars. And this is where I start painting. You're gonna see me try and do that little fancy thing with the tiny window on the second floor. I will realize very shortly how odd it looks. If you build with half walls like this on top of a platform outside, make sure that you're also painting the little walls on the inner part. I always end up missing that. I did make sure that I did get to it in this speed build. But just to give it a more cohesive look, make sure that you're checking that as well. I'm trying so hard to make that little piece work. Instead, I just flip it. I put it on the other side, no tiny window. I also tried to include a lot of plants in this build. You could be the judge of that if I add enough, but there will also be an outdoor garden space. Even the cat room gets a plant. Certain rooms do keep the little saucer lights. I don't think that it would be super uncommon for some spaces to have the saucer lights, the ones that go straight into your ceiling, versus pendants. I saw that light that I just put over the kitchen island, and it reminded me of a pot rack or like standing or hanging drying rack. I believe that actually is a pot rack with a light, but I really wanted to use that again because if it was real life, I would love to have a pot rack above my island. Realistically speaking, it would probably be the stove and oven that would be on the island instead of the sink, and the sink would have a nice window to look out of. But with The Sims, I've noticed that when you want to put a stove in the middle of an island, there's some overhang with the countertops or it just doesn't fit correctly. So I opted not to do that. And we also have an outdoor grilling space, again with a lot of seating. I will swap out one of the counters for a bar instead though, which would also be good for Sims gameplay so that there's more skill building items. And instead of a pool, we have a hot tub. I believe all we have left at this point is just painting the inside walls and putting down some landscaping. I still find picking out wallpaper to be one of the hardest things for me to do or to decide on in The Sims. To anyone watching this, do any of you struggle with picking out the wallpaper as well? Or do you have like a trick to just deciding faster? Ooh, I forgot that I also need to put in curtains. So, or I did put in curtains. That's one thing that I almost always forget in my builds. I guess because in The Sims you don't really need to worry about other Sims just coming up to the windows. It's not really something that's for practicality. It's more so for decoration and aesthetic. I also did that wall-to-wall curtain. It was inspired by a pretty cool hotel tour on Instagram. She's currently renovating her own house, and one thing that she did in a guest room was wall-to-wall curtains, and I thought that it looked so pretty, and I also love it in The Sims. I'm sure other builders have done it as well. I haven't seen it, at least not while I've been on the gallery, but I did think that it would be a nice feature to put into that master bedroom. Just putting some final touches inside the house, and then we should be moving on to the landscaping outside. I think whenever I get to the landscaping, I'm finally relieved, because it means that I'm basically at the end of the build. I'm sure there are people out there that don't enjoy the landscaping bit in The Sims 4, but it's probably the most therapeutic part because you're just slapping things on. You're just throwing down the plants. And then if it doesn't look good, add a little color. Give different heights. Now that we're at the end of the build, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe for more. Have a great day, everybody.